I mentioned Chris Trump. He's a mac nut farmer up in Kohala, and he has 700 acres of mac nuts, and they've had several different fungal diseases hit them. They've had like rapid die-off, they've had slow die-off, they've had these different, he has identified at least 3 different types of fungal diseases that he's completely eliminated from his fields. And the way he's doing that is he's making a fungally dominated IMO solution. And so what it is it combines seawater, which has tons of minerals, and the more research I do on that, I find there's a microbe behind every mineral. So when you grab all these different minerals, you get this really microbial diversity you can bring back to the land. He's including in there humic and fulvic acids, which are essentially like wood juices, wood concentrates. And so these really stimulate. Fungus loves to eat wood. That's why it's attacking a tree here. And so when you include the humic and fulvic acids, which he gets primarily from worm juice, that then stimulates this beneficial fungus to thrive in the solution he's creating. And then he's making really careful sure to make sure he grabs really good IMO collection from a very fungally dominated area already. So going to where he knows there's already a healthy forest and grabbing that IMO. And the fourth thing he's including in this batch is fermented plant juices, which essentially are plant concentrates. It's a recipe we're all familiar with here, but it is just making it into the mainstream in terms of its medicinal benefits, and also its plant. It contains plant secondary metabolites and all these very essential hormones and enzymes that other methods of extraction with heat or pressure or other ways kill. But in our method with just extracting with pure sugar and allowing the microorganisms to ferment at low temperature, extracts them in their very pure and sane form. So it's essentially like taking the essence out of this plant without destroying it and putting it into this liquid. And if you look at what happens in a natural healthy forest, the leaves are falling, right? And that's what's feeding the forest, and that's what's keeping it healthy. And so this recipe of including the fermented plant juice, which essentially is concentrated leaves, then including humic and fulvic acids, which is concentrated tree branches that fall, then including the very good beneficial microorganisms you gather from a healthy part of the forest, and then combining it with seawater, which just enhances that diversity. And like I was saying, in natural farming, it's all about the metagenomics. The more diversity, just like look at this room, the more diversity we get, the more ideas we have coming, the more solutions we get coming forth. And so the seawater to really stimulate that extra diversity. With those tools, he basically makes a compost tea. And what he does is he takes his brewer, like a 500-gallon brewer, he brews this tea. He puts in, not even that much into he has it all measured out, the correct dilutions. He has the recipe. It's actually posted on the Facebook discussion that Dana and I were having. He puts all these things into the tea, and he brews it for 36 hours. And he found that's pretty much the sweet spot, because he's doing microscope analysis. And he's looking for beneficial fungus, which are the big, nice, dark brown fungus. Those are the beneficial ones. And at 36 hours, it's very highly fungal dominated. And then what he does is he loads it into a sprayer that one of his workers goes and then just sprays all his fields. So he stresses the highest precision quality of this. That's why he brews the tea and loads it into the sprayer for then his workers to go out. Because before he's asked his workers to make the tea, and it's that level of precision that they sometimes, you didn't put this much, or you brewed it for maybe 72 hours, or whatever happened, that then you are spraying more pathogens out. But when you do this right and correctly, he's able to completely bring trees back to life from the core out. He said sometimes trees will regrow, like with certain techniques, they'll put a little bit more foliage on the outside. But he's actually seeing new shoots emerge from the inside out on these, so what some call dead trees. Like the tree looks dead, not like it, someone would come and just cut it down because the thing was dead. He sprays this solution and the tree still comes back to life. And so it's an association that as we study more science, we find that there's fungus not only in our soil, but also in the plants themselves, in everything. And it turns out to be the most vital part of our ecosystem is this beneficial fungus, which we call in here IMO, which is it's just a diversity. It just means it's from here, and it's the microbes that are the beneficial ones in our forest. Another thing that I heard previously, I don't know if this was the case, but that it was spreading along the roadsides. And that may be from vehicles, but also the roadsides are constantly, as your exhaust comes out, all these toxins are coming out and just landing, like try to breathe car exhaust for a couple minutes, you can probably die, right? And so this same stuff is being blown out onto the road. So all that beneficial fungus that was in the environment now has a layer of hydrocarbons and toxins on top of it. So as we continue to pollute our environment by driving cars, we're putting more of this toxin out. So the beneficial fungus that was there, it's very essential that it's aerobic. And if it's covered with this layer of oil on top, it cannot breathe anymore. So it starts to die, and then probably this one is anaerobic, I bet. Goes with that, or maybe not. Okay, so maybe that's through extrapolation on that, but maybe the metagenomics is changing in the soil so that it's stressed. Like if you have a beneficial thing with plenty food, plenty people come. No food, no people come. Same with the fungus in the soil. And so putting the foods out there. The other comment I just wanted to make as natural farmers, we always make that analogy of like using a fungicide or like an herbicide is kind of like taking your skin and ripping it off. Yeah, sure, I got clean, sterile environment, but as soon as something lands on me, I now immediately got infection. So if I use a fungicide, yeah, I can get rid of it, but I've now stripped all those beneficial guys as well. It's like you got a criminal in Hilo and you use a nuclear bomb to get them. Yeah, you got them, but you caused a lot of collateral damage as well. And so fungicide, we tend to go away from that, and instead of just using a bomb to blow it up, we just bring in beneficial people to like hold space, to do good things. And so we take a probiotic approach, and that's what all about the IMOs is about, is just bringing so much diversity, so many good things into the soil that there's no room for bad guys. If there's a bad guy in here, we throw him out, right? But if we set off a bomb and the bad guy came, who's going to throw him out? So we like to use just simple analogies along those lines to just start our thinking towards just putting good guys out there and really trying to see how can we get the good guys? What do they need? What do the good guys need from us to naturally combat things like this? Because in a healthy forest, you don't see stuff like this happening. But as we toxify our world more and more, you start to see all kinds of plagues like this just popping up. And so our whole approach in natural farming is just restore, regenerate, rejuvenate, get foods out there, get good guys out there, and let them take care of it for us. So that's my manao on that.